Tax time is here, and a lot of people are really nervous about it, especially those that are gig workers. So, we're going to talk about exactly what you need to know when it comes to your taxes. Let's get started. Hi, I'm Tyler from the RideShare Guy. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about taxes. Before we get started, I just want to say one thing that all of this is to help and benefit you, but absolutely, if you need help, seek the help of a professional tax expert. Absolutely cannot recommend that enough if you have or need any additional help. Now, right now, you have less than a month before you have to get your taxes done for the year. Now, maybe you've been putting it off because you're a little nervous, a little concerned about getting it done. Maybe it makes you scared to even think about. Maybe you don't know if you have all the tax documents, what you can count as a deduction. We're going to answer all of those questions on this episode. So first, let's talk about how you get your tax documents. So each company is a little different, but essentially the same when it comes to the tax documents that you get. Now, when you have a regular 9-to-5 job, a W-2 employee, you're going to receive a W-2 from your employer, whether they send that to you electronically or they send it through the mail or you pick it up from HR department or whatever the case may be, they're going to have that for you. The same is true with these services such as Uber Eats, driving for Uber, Lyft, Instacart, Grubhub, DoorDash. The difference, though, is going to be that you're not an employee, so you're not going to get a W-2. Instead, you're going to get what's called a 1099, but you won't even always get a 1099. Now, a lot of these services as an independent contractor, they classify themselves not as a service, but as a payment processor, which means that they don't have to give you a 1099 unless you make over $20,000 in sales or through the rides or deliveries or batches or whatever it is you're doing for them. So if you do this part-time, odds are you're not going to get a full 1099. Now, you're still going to get some tax information documents from them. It will explain how much you made, how many deliveries you did, how much miles you did. We're going to talk more on the miles in a little bit when we get to deductions, but it'll give you all of that information that you need in order to put in and do your taxes. So step one is to log into those accounts individually so that you can print out those documents, whether it's Lyft, Instacart, Uber Eats, any of those. Most likely they have sent you several emails about it, that the tax documents were ready. At this point, you can just go in, get them, print them out if you want. You can do it just from your phone. If you're anything like me and my wife, you like to have those paper documents handy so that you can easily have it on this side. When I'm doing my taxes, I have the ones that need to be put in on one side, and I have, once they're done, on the other, and that way I'm sure that I got everything inputted into there. Another thing is that a lot of services, one of them that we recommend, and we'll get to that in a moment, will actually input directly from those services. So you'll be able to put your login information from Uber or Lyft in, and it will automatically take that information and plug it in to do your taxes for you. So that makes it a lot easier for you to do. Before we get into the actual service of where to go to get the taxes done, we're going to talk a little bit about deductions. Now, the biggest deduction that a lot of people are going to have, if not the biggest for almost everyone, if not everyone, is going to be the amount of miles you drive. So that is the biggest amount you get. Per mile, you get a tax deduction. So the more you drove, the more miles you tracked, the bigger that tax deduction is going to be, and the less you're going to have to pay in taxes. So that's why you want to use a service like Gridwise to track your miles every single time that you're going out. You can do it the old-fashioned way where you're literally writing down your miles every day. You can write down the odometer at the beginning and end of your shift out driving, doing the gig, or you can just reset and do each trip and just keep track of it that way. I highly recommend using the app Gridwise. I absolutely love it, but it keeps track. At the end of the year, I can just click a button on it and it pulls up and tells me exactly how many miles I drove, which is absolutely amazing. It makes it so easy to do your taxes. So definitely a must when it comes to your deductions is to track your miles and to put that in. If you didn't track your miles throughout the year, the different services are going to give you the amount of miles that you drove. Those miles are always going to be less than if you tracked it yourself, because not because you drove less miles or you're cheating anyone, but because they don't track while you're driving, looking for a batch, looking for a ride, looking for a delivery. They don't track when you're driving. When you first get that delivery to pickup, they only count from the pickup to the actual delivery or drop off. So there's a lot of things that they don't count that you can, as an independent contractor and sole proprietor, you can count. So that's something you definitely want to make sure that you're keeping track of your own miles. If you didn't, use theirs, because something is better than nothing for sure, because that's going to get your amount that you owe the government down that much. Other deductions, you want to deduct things like your cell phone, the food, things that you're drinking while you're out working, because as an independent contractor and sole proprietor, you get to count those things as deductions. Not necessarily office space unless you do enough work at home. Typically, if you're doing the gigs like Uber and Lyft, you're not going to have an office that you're able to deduct, but you're able to do all of those things. And then finally, how do you actually do that? Once you get everything together, you've tracked your deductions, you've got all of the paperwork, where do you go next to actually do your taxes? Now, there's several ways. The first way is you can have it done for you. You can go to a certified public accountant. You can give them all of the information. This is going to cost you $250, $500, even more, depending on exactly who they are, how much they charge. You can ask them ahead of time the amount that they're going to charge and what would be involved, but expect to pay at least $250. Now, a benefit of this is, number one, you don't have to do it yourself. But number two, you can have absolute confidence that it was done right. This is someone that this is all they do, is this taxes all the time. So they're going to know exactly what they're doing. They're not going to have to question things. They're going to know exactly what to do. It's going to be something that is done correctly and speedily. Odds are, if you're doing it yourself, you have to think about everything every single step of the way. And the whole time, if you're anything like me, you're concerned that you're going to get arrested and they're going to break down your door the entire time when you're clicking buttons, even though you're doing everything right. But this will alleviate any stress whatsoever that you could possibly have by hiring someone. Now, if you want to do it yourself, we have a lot of services that we recommend. The number one service that I recommend, I've used this for many, many, many years now to do my taxes, even before I started doing side gigs and hustling on the side. When I was just a W-2 employee, I always have used TurboTax. Now, they have a free service if you're a W-2 employee. If you are a gig worker and you have anything like an independent contractor, sole proprietor, they are going to charge you a little bit of money in order to do that. Now, fortunately, most of these services, Uber especially, Lyft typically does as well, you get a discount through TurboTax for also being a driver or a contractor through them. So check that out first. Look at all of the different services that you drive for and find out which one has a service that is free or cheaper to use. Then go with that one, especially if you're not tied to a certain one. Find the one that's going to be the cheapest for you, that's going to give you the best deal, and go with that one, depending on where you drive and what discounts you can get. Another service that we recommend is H&R Block. That's a great service, been around. I have looked into using them in the past. Just for me personally, I haven't, probably just because I've become comfortable using the same service over and over again, but I do have friends that have used H&R Block and have had great success with it. A friend of mine actually tried to do her own taxes a few years ago and was going to have to pay in about $1,000, decided to try to have someone else do it, went to H&R Block, had them do it, and actually ended up getting back $500 because she was doing something wrong on her end. And it only cost her $50 to do it through going through H&R Block. So great service and a great way to take a look at it. Another is Tax Act, a great service I've looked at in the past. We also have Liberty Tax and Free Tax USA. Now, all of these links for all of these will be in the description below, so make sure you check them out. Now, we've gotten all the way, we've done our taxes, we've got everything, but that's not the end of taxes. Yes, we only think about taxes once a year, but in reality, we should be thinking about them year-round. So if there were mistakes or things you missed or things you thought about that you think you had a deduction for, but you couldn't find the record, make sure that this year, when things like that happen, you don't wait until the end of the year to get those documents in order. Create a tax file for 2022 right now. Literally pause this video and create a file for all of your taxes for 2022. You want to have a running file year round so that anytime something comes up that could be a deduction or needs to go into your taxes, you can put it in right away. Also, as an independent contractor, you can pay quarterly taxes. So if you ended up paying in because of your side hustle, your gig work, try to pay a quarterly tax each quarter in order to lower that bill when the time comes. And that way you're not getting hit with a large bill all at once. Now, if you've ever thought about ways that you can save gas, which especially right now with the crazy amount of money that gas costs, we all have thought about different ways that we can save money on gas. So check out this video on Lyft and Uber drivers and 8 amazing apps that you can use to save money on gas. So absolutely must check it out. Really appreciate you guys sticking around. Please, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out, and stay safe out there, everyone.